Welcome to the Divine Purpose Podcast, where we transport you along one of the more dynamic journeys of life. Have you ever been curious to know what it takes to become a successful leader? Or about knowing the secrets of life through the Bible? How about engaging in conversation where no topics are off limits? We will take you to new levels with guests who can help you grasp the importance of your calling. Now, here's your host, Eddy Dacius, founder of Dacius Facilities Management.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Divine Purpose Podcast. This is our second episode. I am your host, Eddy Dacius. Today, we have a great show for you where we will go dive deep into what it takes to really embrace God's calling. This episode is brought to you by Dacius Facility Management. They will manage your commercial building with a variety of services, such as project and cleaning and vendor management. Call them now at 617-237-0106 or go online at Dacius Facilities Management, DACIUSFM.com. We have a great guest for you. My guest today, she's a published author. She's a woman of God, a wife, a mother, and the CEO of RBS Accounting Solution LLC. She's an alumni of Bentley University. Rebecca Merzius, how are you today?
I am doing fantastic. How are you, Eddy?
I'm good. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
So, how is everything with you?
Yeah, everything is great. I'm so excited to be here and to just kind of speak to your audience and to let them know about, what we do and just kind of touch upon a couple of points about their purpose. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you once again. So for our listener, who's Rebecca?
Sure. So I can say that I am a multifaceted person. I wear many hats. But one of the biggest things about me is I am a servant leader. I am a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a kingdom entrepreneur, but at the heart and at the center of everything I do, I just love serving God's people. And so, that's pretty much who I am, but I'm sure we're going to go into detail about each one of those facets.
Definitely. And I'm glad to have you on our second episode. Please give us a reminder of your business and location if you have a website.
Sure, absolutely. So I currently run several different businesses. My accounting firm, which is RBS Accounting Solutions, is located at 681 Main Street in Waltham, Massachusetts. We do service all of Massachusetts and actually all of the states. And that is a really fast and growing bookkeeping, accounting, tax preparation, but overall accounting firm. And we are excited as we are helping people mitigate their finances, businesses, both and individuals. So it's exciting.
So I remember when I was studying Dacius Facilities Management, we had a phone call where you kind of help us understanding the tax and the status we should be under. And do you remember this? Yeah, that was really great. So can you tell us a quick story about your family? And I know you have a book, and we will go into your book. And please let us know about your family. And I know you mentioned you had like a culture shock when you first came here. So can you go deep into your background?
Yeah, I talked a little bit about that in my book, Chosen, Discover Your Purpose in God. But my family, we are, my husband's name is Shatson, and we have two beautiful children, Grace and Elijah. And one of the biggest things for me, I wasn't born here. I was born in Haiti. And when I first came here, one of the biggest things I talk about in Chosen is that assimilating into a new culture is never easy, right? But one of the biggest things that comes along with that is the responsibility you feel for the growth that you're supposed to have from leaving another country to coming into a new territory.
Right.
I felt that at an early age, and I felt like I had to sort of kind of differentiate myself from the people around me because I knew that I had responsibilities and other things that I had to kind of keep in mind about the people that I left behind. So I think that has fueled my motivation to even becoming an entrepreneur and creating my own journey and my own space.
Yeah, I think, and I read your book, so everyone who's listening or was watching, so they can go and get this book. So this is Chosen, Discover Your Purpose in God from Rebecca Merzius. I was reading your book, and there's a section where you mention a blessing given too soon isn't a blessing at all, and a gift exposed too early may weak. You remember this section? And I don't know if you can explain more what you mean by that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is actually one of my favorite. I say this about every part of my book, but really it's one of my favorite parts because it speaks to my journey as an entrepreneur and as a servant leader, as a preacher, as an author. I think a lot of the times we try to rush God's timing, right? We are sometimes in seasons where we feel like, oh, we want this to happen right now, right? And that's good ambitions to have. We want the gift and we want to walk in the calling and we want to start activating the things God is calling us to. But we have to remember as people of God that it's not our timing, right? It is the timing of God that supersedes anything else. And so we have to be able in wanting to wait on God until it's the right season and the right timing. Because you can have the gift, but it might not be the right time for you to start activating and walking in that gift. Or you might be called to something, but it might not be the season where God is going to bring you out and show you out to the world. So especially this generation, I feel like a lot of us, we rush into things and we don't necessarily wait on the voice of God to tell us, hey, this is the time, this is the moment, right? We have to be obedient to that voice. So that's why I wrote that part and Chosen. Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good explanation. But let's go back to your family. And I know you, so you say what age did you came here?
Absolutely. So I came here when I was, I think it was 8. I was 8 when I first came here. And my family, my uncles, my aunts, they're all back in Haiti. And I came here with my sister actually to come and live with my dad and my mom, but my stepmom. But, everyone else was kind of left behind. And my mom was actually in Haiti. So I had to, think about that aspect as well and how I could create an opportunity for the people I left behind so that I could reach back and bring them forward with me. I believe in lift as you climb. That is one of my mottos in both my accounting firm, my home care business, and everything else that I do is I want to lift other people as I climb. I don't want to leave anybody behind. So that's a big motif, I would say, in my family now that I use is if I know something, I'm going to help you to also do it and to do it with excellence.
Definitely. But is there anything you miss in Haiti, from Haiti? So I know you've been here. Did you have a chance to go back?
No, I have. I think I've been back only one time.
Okay.
But I don't remember a lot about, my time there. I just know I just miss the culture. If anything, I miss the food. I miss the culture. I miss the nice sunny beaches that I lived by, just the scenery.
Okay. So which part in Haiti?
Okai. I was from Okai.
Oh man, I think I went to Port Salut once, and then I drove by Okai, and it's a really, really nice city.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's
the food is good food.
Yeah.
But did you? I know we just so the earthquake in Haiti happened. I think 11 years ago. Did you lose anybody, or because from that earthquake? I don't know if you can.
Yeah. It's interesting because my husband actually lived through the earthquake, and his testimony is so phenomenal in that he was in a school while the earthquake was happening, and he saw someone selling water outside. So something told him, hey, get up and go and get a water. And he left. And the second he stepped outside, him and his friend, the building just collapsed.
collapsed. Wow.
Yeah. So he was literally 3 seconds away from dying in that building. And every time I hear that testimony, I just shrivel up, because it's like, wow, when God, and it's heart-wrenching that happened to the people that were affected. And in that same light, it's so amazing to be able to reflect on God's goodness and think about how he handpicks people for his reasons, right? And he definitely handpicked him from that time. So I don't have, and my mother was in Haiti at the time, actually. Okay. And she would explain to me how, that day for some reason she was feeling so hot she couldn't stay inside, and she went and sat under a tree. And the next thing you know, her house just came down. And so I am just so amazed at what God can do. And although I feel and I sympathize, and obviously I am heartbroken by everything that happened with, the millions and millions of people that have died from that, it also gave me a moment of reflection to thank God for his omnipresence and for his omniscience, right? And his will, because we can't overstep that. Nothing on this earth happens aside from the will of God. So I am always mindful to say that and remind myself that every situation that happens was ordained by God, and God knows about it. It comes to no surprise to him.
You're right. And I have my own testimony too. I'm a survivor of this earthquake too.
Oh, really? Were you in Haiti at that time?
Yeah, I was in Haiti, and I was driving. So my family, we own a restaurant in Port-au-Prince. And my mom called me to pick her up. And I was with friends, planning as a teenager. And, like I drove and I was late, and she left. She took a public transportation, but she didn't wait for me. But on my way back, that I was driving in the middle of the street, I felt something like a shake.
Wow.
But my tire blew up, and then I feel a second one, and this is like I don't know, 10 seconds. I don't know how long was it, but this is the worst of my life. But I was okay. I was in the middle of the street. I didn't have any car near me, and I was looking at people. Like I saw like the walls tremble. I saw people falling.
Wow.
And you just stop. And and then I see people like pray, like have their hands up, praising God. And when I tried to go home, there's a lady, so I had to pick up, and there was a lady, she asked me, she had a baby covered from blood.
Oh my God.
Nearby hospital, and they asked me to give her a ride, and next thing I know, I had like 15 people in the car, like in the pickup.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then I drove them close to that location, it's away. And I told them I have to go home, find out all my family. So I have my nephew. So we were okay. But when I came back quick, after maybe 10 days after the earthquake, when I got here, my culture shock was when I take the train, the red line, it's like the same feeling of that earthquake.
Wow.
Yeah. So
it must be some sort of a PTSD in your mind.
And my wife always testified that, and she said if God didn't protect me, probably we wouldn't be together. So we have 2 kids now, my son Jovan and my daughter Leah. But that's to tell you God's purpose.
Absolutely. Oh, I am a firm believer of it.
Yeah, he saved me from this earthquake.
Yeah.
Now I own a business, and I'm a podcaster doing his will.
Right.
And that's a really, and then I understand your story and your husband. So how did he have a chance to go back since?
Oh yeah, he loves Haiti. His parents are still in Haiti, so he's always in Haiti. But recently, due to Corona, he's had to kind of put a stop to it. But yeah, and I'm looking forward to going. I just haven't. I have like 5 businesses running simultaneously here, so I can't take time off. But yeah, I'm planning on going soon to visit.
All right, so let's switch to the business side of Rebecca. So what can you tell or teach our listeners about business?
What can I teach them about business? Can you be a little specific about that?
How to start a business. We remember our conversation where like you told me what status I could take advantage of.
Yeah. So that is a very heavy topic, right? In terms of the legal aspect or, the foundational aspect of starting a business. But what I would tell anybody listening is when I first started my business, my first business I started at 15. I think I was selling hair products somewhere in school. So I knew early on that I was an entrepreneur and I did not want to work a 9 to 5. I worked in the accounting space, the accounting world for years, and I just couldn't get it together. I made a prayer and I said, God, I want my time to be spent doing the work that you've called me to do. And working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. is not allowing me to preach to people, to just be out there and ministering to people. So I started my first business, which was a home care business, which I still have. And I've hired, managers to take care of that. But where my heart is in terms of the business aspect is in my accounting firm and in my purpose to profit business, which is a business that helps women, Christian females, launch their coaching and consulting businesses, and I help them scale their businesses within 1 year. So to anybody who's listening, if you're looking to start a business, the first thing I would tell you and suggest that you do is to really map out the why behind the what. Why do you want to start that business, right? You have to have a fuel, and that fuel can't just be money. If you're just starting a business because you want more money, the minute things start to get rocky, you'll give up, right? But if you start a business where you are passionate about something, you want to have change, you want to impact people, you want to leave something, for generations to come, then that is where the transformation comes in. So to anyone who's listening, if you're thinking about starting a business, map out why you want to do it and give us a call. You can always call us. I am a business consultant. I'm able to sit down with you and draw out a plan that's specific to your vision and your goals. Because there's not just a one size fits all, plan. I can tell you, yes, you need to get it legally set up and all these things, but there's so much more that goes into that. And that is a tailored service that I can provide to you.
Oh, well said. So let's go back to your background educationally from Bentley. So can you take us to that journey?
Yeah, so Bentley was great. I was an undergrad there. I have my master's in theology. I have my bachelor's in accounting. I have currently working towards getting my PhD in ministry. So I am well grounded in both the business aspect and working and solidifying the calling that God has given me as a minister as well. But yeah, so that was very that was a really great time in my life, just getting my bachelor's, my master's, and kind of working my way through there. But yeah, education is important, right? If you want to start anything, you want to do anything, it's not necessary that you have an undergrad degree or a bachelor's or a master's degree, but what that does is it puts things in perspective, right? And it gives you the tools in order to really set your plans in space. So yeah.
No, and I think you said it really well. And so, but can you take us to the why Bentley? And I think we probably could go to any school you wanted, but so can you take us why you chose Bentley?
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, I actually got a full ride to college, a full scholarship. So for me, my decision in choosing Bentley was, I think I only applied to 3 schools, honestly, and I applied to one in California. I already knew I wasn't going to go to California because my parents were sticklers about that. And then I applied to UMass Dartmouth and I think Bentley and another school. I can't remember which one. But really the deciding factor at attending Bentley was I knew a couple of people that had previously graduated or had been to Bentley, and during those conversations with them, it just made sense that this was something that I would see myself doing. My parents actually wanted me to be a nurse, right? Like my parents, or a doctor or something. And okay. I hate biology. I can't even tell you what a cell membrane is. So I'm like, there is no way I'm going to be doing anything in the medical field. but I love numbers. I loved calculating. I loved just digging into statistics and things like that. I was actually going to be a statistics professor, and that was my dream. I wanted to do that.
Wow.
But God had different plans, because he knew that he would want me to start my accounting firm to hopefully create space for new things to come. So I'm so happy I took that step in joining Bentley and being a Bentley alumni.
So just
I have a funny story about Bentley, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I attended a conference. I was invited to be a part of a conference in California. And this was relating to my purpose to profit business. And I was there. And during the conference, there was a guy, I had a Bentley, like one of those bracelets that I had gotten from freshman year or something. I don't know why I was wearing it. Like, it did not even click in my mind to take it off. And I was sitting there, and there was a guy behind me who kept kind of trying to get my attention, but he was a little bit older. So I was like, okay, what is going on? So finally, after the conference, we were in the kind of the waiting area, the reception hall. And he was like, oh my gosh, I was a Bentley alum in 1997. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so cool that this, gentleman was an alumni in 1987 and 1997, and he saw my bracelet, and we kind of talked about his Bentley experience decades ago and my experience now. So that was actually pretty cool.
So looking back, what do you think is the most important aspect of that education?
Yeah, so the most important aspect of any education, not necessarily from Bentley, and you can be from any school.
Yep.
I think having the framework, right? Because you're not necessarily going to be working through everything you learn in school, but having the opportunity to set yourself apart and differentiate yourself from someone who doesn't have that education comes into play and comes as it is very valuable. I know for me with accounting in my tax firm, obviously it's definitely needed in my space of work to have the accounting degree and to have certifications and qualifications. But even beyond that, if you are in a space and you're getting an education, just look at it as an investment in your mind and the connections you're going to be able to make, and just being able to learn as you go and as you grow. So I think any education is definitely key to being a stepping stone to growth.
I had Pastor Gene. He was talking about his family and being grew up in a Asian family. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you can touch on that. What was your experience being a Haitian and then living in Jamaica and education? I know Haitian, they really focus on education. They push their kids to do better. So I don't know, what was your experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would want to be any other nationality than Haitian. I just love being Haitian. I love everything about my culture. I love everything about being a Haitian person. I just speak about it every chance I get. But one of the biggest things that I am really fond of, and I am so thankful and grateful to my parents for this, is they don't take the slack. You got to be on your A game all the time. And, they don't settle for anything less than perfection. And even now, I would say one of the biggest facets of my life that has contributed to me being an entrepreneur is my father. Because my father was a business owner. He's just a light. He just, motivates you to be the best that you can.
Challenge you, right?
Huh?
He challenge you, right?
Yeah. He challenges you to just kind of take on the calling of God, but to accelerate it and make it perfect, right? I am a stickler for perfection. I like for things to be done well, and I think I get that from my father because he does not settle for anything less. So going back to your question, what was it like growing in a Haitian family? Growing up in a Haitian family, or what does that mean to the journey of entrepreneurship, is it just fuels me, because I know I have to not only be kind of like the light in my family, to be the first to do things, not because there's pressure to be the first, but I want to be the first because I want people to see us in a new light. I want people to see the Haitian people in a new light. Like, there's some stigmas that come around, Haitian businesses and things like that. My staff, I have 6 staff members, and my motto for each and every person is to be your best self, even when there's no one watching, right? To show up with excellency. So my parents definitely instilled that in me.
No, and like you said, that's the same for me too, where they always want us to do better.
Yeah.
And they don't take you don't go and then do the minimum. So you have to do your best. Exactly. But so grew up in a Haitian family, which is Christian, I know there will be some stigma and problem. So I'm going back to your book where you mentioned that you suffered from depression in your book as a teenager. But I heard that as a Christian, they said a Christian shouldn't be suffering depression. Like, some people, they don't, by not taking less, they even want you to ignore like things that is real.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can talk more
Absolutely. About that. This is my heart again. So I can definitely talk on that a lot. So stop me if I'm going too deep into it. But
go ahead.
One of the biggest challenges, I think, especially for the youth in the Haitian community, is the fact that they feel they need to suppress their emotions. They feel like they need to suppress how they feel because they want to look good for everybody else. Their parents want them to look good, right? Like the church wants them to look good. And so they've gotten so used to suppressing their real feelings and emotions and, what comes with their situations, because that's what they've been taught to do. So what happens when that happens is, a lot of our young people, they're suffering from a lot of abuse mentally, emotionally, depression, suppression. They're suffering with all of these things. And I know because I work firsthand with a lot of youth. I am a youth leader and I work with them firsthand. And they don't feel like they have an outlet to voice their concerns, to voice their issues, because they'll be judged for the things they're going through, or they'll be judged for their mistakes. They'll be judged for the ways they've acted, right? And so, and this is a part that we as this generation, we have to work on helping our churches fix this, because we're not perfect. And I speak about this in Chosen. I went through seasons in my life where I couldn't speak to anybody about what I was feeling. I couldn't speak to anyone because I felt like the image that was kind of portrayed on me was I had to be this perfect person. But listen, I have grown to understand that nobody is perfect. We all come with baggage. We all have issues. We all have gone through moments in our lives when we felt less than, where we felt, like we weren't good enough, and we've sinned and we've fallen short. No, we have all fallen short. And so my voice right now is to kind of help those that are in the Haitian churches, especially the young people, understand that you are not without. Like I hear you, God sees you, I understand, but now let's help the grown-ups, let's help the people that are leading these churches understand that the youth, they also need a voice. They also need to speak about their emotions and their feelings without being judged, without being characterized as an outcast, right? And so that is where my heart was in writing that, right? Like, yes, I did go through that season of kind of mental, this stigma of I have to be perfect, I have to do this. And that brought me into a roller coaster of depression. So I wrote that, and that was like 15, 16 years old, right? And so this is exactly what a lot of young people are going through. So we have to be able to see that and speak to it.
And you did so well by explaining that. And like I said, I heard that saying, okay, in the church, and they said, yeah, you shouldn't be, if you're a Christian, you shouldn't go through depression.
And I think that is the difference between religious people and relational people, right? Like the people that are saying, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't be these are people that are putting up a front of religious activity. activity. Okay, these are not people that are true to the heart of God, because someone who's true to the heart of God would say, let me go in prayer with you, but let me also find you a counselor to help you overcome this. Not, you shouldn't be feeling depressed, right? No, we should not be asserting our feelings and emotions that's not even viable in connecting to the word of God to people. That should not be happening. And exactly, that's what a lot of the time happens, which leads people away. And, a lot of people are leaving communities because of that.
No, you're right. And like I said, it's a very, very dark situation, and you need help to get out of it, in my understanding. But the thing I have close to it is that as you growing up, you will make mistake, but you still gonna feel God's favor to your way.
Oh yeah.
And you just cannot stay there. That's why faith is important.
Yeah.
Because you have to listen to the Bible to get you there. But I think you did a good job mentioning it. But you mentioned also you have like 5 businesses. Can you tell our listeners, like, go to the businesses, or you studied them?
Yeah, absolutely. I am, and I joke with my husband about this, I am a serial entrepreneur by heart. I am an entrepreneur maven. Okay, so I do have my accounting firm, as you already know, RBS Accounting Solutions. I also have a home care business that I started maybe 5 years ago called Abundare Home Care. My aunt actually runs that business. So it is a home care business that specializes in providing house care to elderly and those in nursing facilities and sort of that nature. I also have Purpose to Profit, as you know, which is a coaching consulting firm that's helping women entrepreneurs take their expertise by packaging it into a premium offer so that they can stop working for dollars and start working towards providing transformation. And then along with that, I also do have 2 other businesses that's specifically through, selling domains and things like that. So we harbor different domains. I am also a co-partner with my husband in his photography business, where I help him with that as well. So we're juggling a lot, and we have a lot going on, but exciting times to do all of these things, because there's no better time to help and to provide transformation. And that's what I believe in, and that's what my heart is in.
But how did COVID affected those businesses, if you can touch on that?
Yeah, so for me, I know a lot of businesses have been affected by COVID negatively, but for me, I have actually seen an increase in everything. From, the accounting firm has blown up. I just literally yesterday hired a new staff member. So we are now at 6 staff members for my accounting firm. And my home care business is growing, because this is the time everybody wants to make sure that their family members are safe and well. My coaching business is literally at its peak as of now, and it's growing as well. So that has been an exciting time, just helping women launch their businesses and to do it effectively. So I have, thankfully, and I will say by God's will, have seen an increase in everything. So
no, that's good. No, that's really good, and all the glory to God. Yeah. It's just for me too, as a facility manager, or we do facility management services. We got a lot of increase in cleaning, COVID cleaning, and which is get us a lot very busy, and we thank God for it. But you mentioned that you're doing business with your aunt.
Yeah.
So I was doing business with family member is really a good thing or bad thing? Because people's
great question. I actually it is my mission to turn everybody around me into an entrepreneur. I don't want to see anybody around me working a 9 to 5 or a 7 to 7, or just breaking their backs trying to make $1. So my aunt, actually, she is just an amazing, phenomenal person. And she was working in a nursing facility. And I remember when I brought the conversation to her and I said, listen, I think it's time for you to do something else, because I don't think what you're doing now is going to help you save and, kind of provide the lifestyle that you want. And when I first brought it up to her, everybody looked at me like I was crazy. Like, Rebecca, no, she's not going to leave her job to come and start a business with you. But the thing is, I had already started the business and it was running pretty well. And so I kind of had the proof to show them, hey, this is how much money I'm making in this. And this is how much money you can make if you join into this, right? So it wasn't easy at first to convince her to join in. But once I kind of showed her how profitable things would be for her, it kind of turned her wheels a little bit and she decided to join in. But I will say, to the question of how is it doing business with family members, I love my family members and I try as much as possible to kind of be a resource to them, to kind of lead the way and to be a resource to them. But I will say sometimes it does get a little
Yeah, I know. That's why I was waiting, because people, I want to, like, that's the idea of this podcast. No topic is off limit, so sometimes they don't have
and I think you have to put out the expectation. The way I work is I let people feed off of my energy and what I'm able to do. So I would not want someone to commit to something that I know I'm not able to kind of sustain. So I don't even bring anything up to someone if I know for sure that I'm not able to help them see them through. So my family know that. They know if I bring an idea to them, I'm serious about it. And if I bring it up, if I even mention it, it's because I already have a plan in place. So your name and your voice has to kind of supersede, the trajectory of what people think. It has to be the first liner. So you have to set the expectation from day one that this is who I am, this is how I function, and this is what I do. If you are aligning with that, great. But if you're not, please step aside so I can do it with someone else.
Wow. But I know, and let me know if that's the case. Do you guys have a legal aspect of it where every role will be legalized or
yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's where people fell short when they bring any partner. You need to have a legal aspect of it where you hire somebody who have a legal line and it can help. So what was your process?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you're bringing that up, because I think why a lot of family businesses fail is everything is word of mouth. They have spoken agreements, but nothing written. And I treat any transaction or any business relationship, as a business relationship. You can be my father, my mother, my aunt. It doesn't matter. If we are doing business together, it's a business relationship, right? Of course, family relationships come first, but when it comes to the business aspect, there is a line in the sand and everything is in contract. Everything is written out just as if you were working for someone in corporate. So when I hired, my family member, I made sure she signed an employee contract, just like she would at a job.
Yeah, definitely.
And if I were to go into a partnership with a family member, like my husband, for example, and people actually find this to be funny because they're like, oh, you run your husband's photography business with him. And, I do kind of like the back end work, but I'm like, yeah, he's a 70% partner and I'm a 30% partner. So we have it in a contract, and we are husband and wife, but it's in a contract. So, you have to have those legal things set up, correctly in order for it to be beneficial to both parties. And that's how I run.
No, that's really, really good insight. So we're just gonna make a 360 on what's your favorite sports?
Favorite sports?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I have a favorite sport, but I've over the years, because of my husband, I've been watching a lot of football.
Football.
I can't say I understand it, but he's usually in the living room watching something and I'm like passing by and I hear, the touchdown. So I would say maybe that. But when I was in college, I enjoyed playing tennis. I enjoyed like watching tennis and things like that. But as of now, I don't want to lie to you, I have not been watching or consistently watching anything specific.
But what do you do in your free time then?
In my free time, I am filled with my two toddlers. So with my baby and my toddler. So we do a lot of baking. My daughter loves to bake. So she's usually trying to get me to bake something. I also do a lot of, how could I say this? like sessions with people. So I give free time where I'm talking to people and kind of counseling them. So a lot of my time, which I don't have a lot of outside of my businesses, the time that I do have is spent kind of helping people navigate their lives and counseling them to their path. And a lot of them are in the Haitian community, a lot of the youth that are kind of going through processes and through depression to kind of help them get out of that.
Okay. But I know when you're not doing work or helping people, what do you do? Do you have a favorite show? The reason we're talking about is like to kind of see the human side of, not the human side of you, just the personal side of you to the viewer.
Yeah, so one of my favorite things, I know you mentioned sports, so that's why I couldn't give you an answer because I don't know sports. But one of the things that I thoroughly, and anybody that knows me will tell you, Rebecca does this a lot. I love watching African movies, especially. I know. I love not like the long.
You like my mother and my sister.
Not like the long ones, but I wouldn't even say movies. I love watching the series they have, like the different shows.
Man. I wouldn't think that. That's funny.
No, but seriously, there are some really great lessons that you can learn from these movies, you know? So as much as I don't have time, I try to sneak in an episode or two every week to just kind of get
I think they have them on Netflix now, right?
Yeah, they have a lot on Netflix, but my African friend, my best friend actually, who is African, she put me onto this app where you can watch, it's like $30 a year or something, but you can watch unlimited African shows and movies. So I have been binge watching all of the movies that...
I think my mother, my sister, they can spend like days.
I know. But yeah, so that's what I like to do, you know, just, and that's not even consistent, you know, when I get an hour or two, but I also like baking with my daughter, and just doing whatever comes, like, and I am getting in the habit now of having a workout routine in the morning. So I usually wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So I am starting to get in the routine of working out in the morning and being consistent with that.
Okay. No, that's good to hear. But any superheroes? You're not into Disney superheroes, Wonder Woman?
Superheroes? No, my superhero is God.
All the
God. That is all the super I need. He is all that and love. So my son, though, who is just a little bit over 1, I think he's starting to watch and kind of see, you know, the different superhero cartoons he likes. And but yeah, no, for me, I don't have a favorite superhero.
But side of it, where we're talking about superheroes, is because I think, as a Christian, it was me. Superman was what we used to watch, and Power Rangers back in Haiti. And as I'm growing up, I realized that those are fiction. But back then, I really thought they were real people, and then God kind of changed where He taking over and then being my superhero, as you mentioned, because He's the most powerful. He can do anything, and sometimes He take you where you would be like speechless, you know?
Yeah. And I think that is so powerful within itself, because one of the things I've tried to do, both my husband and I, is we are very adamant about not letting our kids watch anything and everything, because it seeps into your mind really easily, right? So I like to think about what is the motive behind anything, and not to go deep about superheroes, but when you're watching these people on television and you're having your kids watch these superheroes, right? It's great so that they feel like, oh, I can do this, right? But I think sometimes it takes away from what you can actually be teaching them, which is, nobody's perfect, right? Like, and these are fictional characters. So the one you should be fixing your eyes on is Jesus, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I am very intentional about that and teaching them
And we have great superheroes in the Bible, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's just we're not driving them to, and that's why
they're not mainstream. They're not mainstream. Yeah.
Anybody who's listening will draw, like, you can write a book about all those characters in the Bible because they are great. So talking about book, what was the process writing your book?
What was my process?
How long did it take you?
So writing the book itself took me 90 days.
Okay.
I will tell you exactly how that happened. So this is my second book. Okay. My first book, I never published it. It just sat in my Word doc. And
I thought, because I was surprised. I said, my mission is to buy all your books.
Yeah, no, the first one, actually, I also have another book I wrote after that. That is a financial book. So you might not be interested in that because it's all about financials and stuff. But this book came to me. I really felt called to write this because I wanted to kind of walk people through my process and what God has done for me and to help them also get out of something. But the process in writing the book was I would wake up literally every day around 4 or 5 a.m. because at the time I was working a full-time job. So I did not have time from, the day to do it. So I had to wake up early to do it. And I remember pitching it to a couple of publishers and thinking about pitching it to a couple of publishers. And every publisher I thought about, the Lord just kind of kept telling me, no, not this one, not this one, not this one. And so I was really adamant about getting direction about what God wanted me to do. And so I decided to self-publish instead of going through a major publication. And that was the best decision I made relating to that book. But the process was just, making sure that I had set some time apart to think about what God was speaking to me, because I did not want it to be something I was speaking from the flesh and writing from the flesh, but was a download from heaven. So I made sure to really pray and concentrate in writing the content of that book.
So why decided not to go to a big publisher?
Yeah, for me, it was all about having ownership, right? Being able to say that, okay, this is something I'm able to distribute to anybody, to any church, to any location, and to be free to do that without having it being a contract obligation. You know what I mean? And so for me, it just made more sense, spiritually speaking, because I did not want to necessarily make a profit off of this book. I wanted people to have it so it could change their lives. Because I knew that, writing this book, I wanted to get it in the hands of the young people. I wanted to get it in the hands of their parents so that they knew this is what your child is going through, right? And so going to a publisher, there would have been some contractual issues if I were just to be giving my book away for free and they would not be benefiting. So that was a part of it that I had to think about as well. And I did not want my name to be tied to anything that I did not believe in. So I think one of the publishers that reached out to me was a really big publisher, but their content was not Christian. And I did not want, and although I could have positioned myself to kind of go out there and kind of be that light, they did not want to position the book in that way. And I did not want that to be the case. So I decided to just self-publish.
So can you tell us where we can find the book?
Absolutely. So you can find the book at any major bookstore online. So you can find it on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. You can find it on any virtual ebook that you currently use, iKindle, but majorly through Amazon or Barnes and Nobles.
Right. So that's good. Thank you for this information you provided regarding the book. So word of the week, Hebrews 13 verse 5, keep your life free from love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's the word of the week, Hebrews 13 verse 5. Keep your life free from love of money and be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That was the word of the week with Dacius City Management. All right, let's go back with Rebecca. So we're gonna turn into hot topics. our topics where we're gonna talk about things people don't really talk. So, how should Christian file the taxes according to the Bible?
Okay.
Yeah, because a quick example will be husband and wife, they both working, but to take advantage of the tax bracket, they file separately. So with your background, both financially and with your Christianity, so what do you think is the best way to file your taxes?
Sure. So when it comes to filing taxes, there is the legal aspect of it, but then there's also the strategy aspect of it. And our firm works a lot with business owners and individuals that are really trying to get the best strategy, right? Just because something seems like it is illegal, or if it seems illegal, it probably is illegal. And along the line of that, I will say that there are strategies that you can use, that we help people use, that is grounded in the IRS tax code, that will allow them to make good decisions when it comes to their taxes. So when it comes to the question of how should Christians file their taxes, I say you should file your taxes honestly, right? And you should find a tax planner who is able to help you put the best strategies in place so that you are maximizing your tax savings legally, okay, based on the IRS tax code. So someone filing separately, who's married and is filing married separately, that's not necessarily illegal if you know the strategy to use based on the tax code. All right. So it really comes down to finding a professional who is knowledgeable in the field, who has the experience, the expertise, the qualifications to help you navigate through those tax laws. Now, what I have seen a lot of people do, especially, I wouldn't say especially, but I've come across a couple of businesses that try to really absorb being taxed, and so they over project or under project their income so that they're not being taxed. Now that is illegal, okay? If you are an individual and you're not reporting your income and you're withholding information, that is illegal. But I would say overall, find the right person who is able to help you navigate these tax laws, because you will get caught. And it won't be pretty when you do. So make sure you're doing everything in honesty and in integrity.
Yes, but my question would be too, where do the 10%, that's the requirement from the Bible, where that's allowed? Is it whenever you get? So you just as a Christian, I'm trying to, because you having two hats, where the business side and being a Christian. Mm-hmm. Is it that, okay, you give your tithe every time you get your paycheck, or when you fill your taxes, you should give a tithe to your taxes, or like tax return?
So you're asking, should you be paying a 10% on? Okay, first of all, let me just say this, right?
Yeah.
This is a great topic, because I love talking about tithing, because a lot of people misunderstand the biblical concept around tithing.
Okay.
Right? And I'm not going to go theologically into the details of it, yep. But if you look in the Bible, tithing in the Old Testament was actually more than 10%, right? So it is a call to us as Christians to give freely and to give happily, right, into the storehouse. And then in the Old Testament, it talks about that 10th. But if you go into the Old Testament, tithing was actually more than 23%, because you had to be tithing your food, you had to be tithing your animal stocks, you had to be tithing all these things, right? And so when we, as Christians, I always ask God to give me more, to give me 100% so I can give 90% to him and I can keep 10%. Because I really believe that the more you give to God, the more he'll bless. And not because of this law and effect, but because of your obedience to him and giving. So if you get, let's say you get paid, I'm sorry?
And faith too.
Yeah, exactly. So let's say you get $100 and you feel in your heart you're not being compelled to do it, you feel like giving $10 out of that $100, that's amazing. But if you feel like giving $20, give that $20, right? So it's really tied to your faith and your obedience to God's rules. So going back to the question of the taxes, and I'm not going to go theologically into the tithing for now, because I know a lot of our listeners might have questions about it, but going into the question of taxes, if you are, so when you file your taxes, right, what that's essentially doing is you are filing and letting the government know that this is how much money I made. This is how much money I've already paid to you. If I overpaid my taxes, pay me back. If I didn't pay enough, I'll pay you, right? So technically, when you file your taxes, you've already either prepaid your taxes and you are paying the government. So you wouldn't need to be taxed twice on, or tithing twice on, the money that you've made from a tax return, okay?
Hold on. That means, sorry to cut you off, but that means you have to give tithe every time you get a paycheck. Or that doesn't even mean...
So when we say someone has to do something, it sounds like it is not being done with free will, okay? The Bible instructs us to do it freely. So if you are getting paid every week or every bi-weekly, however often you get paid, it is commanded for you to bring the tithing into the storehouse, right? But it doesn't say if you're getting paid every week, right? You might be, let's say you get a paycheck every week, but then you know you're getting money somewhere else every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right? Like, so you have to think about, okay, from all of these different income sources that I have, how much am I going to give, and how much is my heart content to give to the Lord? Remember, everything belongs to the Lord. God doesn't need your 10% to keep, to keep his kingdom. He is giving you the will to give into the storehouse because provision needs to be made in the storehouse, right? So it is my recommendation that someone who is getting paid weekly or bi-weekly or however often you're getting paid, to keep track of that and to be honest with your giving and to give happily and to give from a place of faith and a place of obedience.
Yes, because I think this is really a big topic, and because the way I see it, I think you do too, a lot of conversation where so what's the benefits when you give? Because you can report it when you file in your tax, your tithe, all the tithe you give throughout the year, you can report it. Is that true?
Yeah, so there is a deduction. You can get a deduction for any donation that is made to a nonprofit or to a church location. So if you are making any donations throughout the year, you do have the possibility to claim that in your taxes, okay? I do know some people who choose not to do that. Whether you choose to do it or not is completely free will, right? God is not going to punish you if you choose to obey the law of the land, But in that same light, I think there are more benefits to giving than there is to not. So I choose to obey and give, right? So I think if we think of it that way, like what will I lose out of if I'm giving than I wouldn't if I were to not give, if that makes sense. I think there are more, the benefits stack up for me. I will tell you this, Eddy, every time, and my husband can testify to this, every time I choose to be obedient with my giving and I choose to be, to use crazy faith to do something, God honors that, right? He honors that because he sees your heart. He sees the intent behind it. And sometimes you might not even you might be looking at all of your bills and you're like, Lord, like I have this check, the check has to pay all these bills. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, give to the Lord what is the Lord's. Yep. Those two should not be mixed together. So
no, that's great stuff. That's great stuff. But I'm quick pushing it, going deep in it, because our topic is like where it's time to dig deep in those subjects. So, and I heard it, people saying if you're married, you shouldn't, and you're married, you're a Christian, you shouldn't be filing taxes separately. That's doing that's lying to your faith, and that's lying to the government. Is it true? Because I think you
that is not true. I don't know. I think a lot of people are misinformed. Again, that's that religious spirit that comes in a lot, and I hear it a lot, and I have to correct people a lot, because you should please do not take any advice from someone who is not a tax professional with credentials to help you understand the tax code. Okay, if your mother, your father if they are not a tax person, they don't know the tax code, they have not sat through an exam to get qualifications to help you navigate the tax system, please do not take advice from them. Okay, hire a tax professional, call our office. We're always kind of there to answer your questions, even though we might not be taking new clients, but we're able to kind of guide you in the right direction. So I would say someone who says you can't file married separately. So let's talk about this. I'm just going to give you a quick tax tip of the day. So the government has several different filing statuses for you to file your taxes. There's single, married filing jointly, married filing separately, widow, or someone who is a widower. Okay. It would be illegal if it was not a tax election. They have put married filing separately there for a reason. Like, it's not there just not to be there. It's there for a reason. So I service a lot of high-end clientele who are $1 million owners, and they don't want their income being commingled with their spouse. And that is absolutely okay to do. Your tax election is not a notion of your marital life. Like, your tax election does not denote whether or not you're married or not married to your spouse. It just tells the government, my spouse has their own income, I have my income, and if we were to put it together, we would be taxed higher. So it makes more tax advantage. It makes it more of an advantage for us to file married filing separately. Those people are still married. It's just for their tax election, they're filing married filing separately. It is not illegal. It can become illegal if you are lying about the reasoning behind why you want to file separately, but it is absolutely legal to do so if your reasonings are valid and if it's accommodated by the IRS tax code.
So you're saying that if you files jointly with your spouse and it's hurting you, you cannot take advantage of the system. It will be better to file separately to see if that will be an advantage. It's okay to do it, right? Any tax
professional who knows what they're doing is going to give you what I like to call a performer statement to kind of show you the difference between the two, right? They should be kind of sitting down with you and to tell you, hey, this is what it looks like when you're filing married together jointly, and this is what it looks like if you were to file married filing separately. And they should kind of be able to kind of point you in the right direction. Now, I will say that you can definitely, the IRS makes it very open for you to not take advantage, but for you to understand how you can benefit from the tax code. A lot of people think the IRS is after them to hurt them and take money from them and all of these things. And so they start lying and they start doing all these things when there was actually an easier way to do it. I get people who call me all the time and, they're like, Rebecca, like, I lied on my taxes last year. What can I do? I'm like, we have to amend your taxes because I'm not going to help you commit fraud. So we have to understand that, yes, there are opportunities for us to kind of take a look at the tax code and choose what works for us and, is to the best of our advantage.
And I think when we first got married, and I just filed my tax single, mm-hmm. and I pay a huge price for it because I was married, but we forgot,
Yeah.
We just do it like that, and that gives us a bad position.
Right. If you're married, you cannot file single. You can either file married filing jointly or married filing separately. Those are the two statuses for married people.
Yeah. We learned that lesson really hard.
and there are different deductions for each. If you're filing single, you have a way lesser deduction than someone who's filing married filing jointly. And if you're filing married filing separately, you have a way lower deduction than someone who's married filing jointly. So it might not even make sense for you to, it might even hurt you to file married filing separately. So which is why it's encouraged if, there are no big jumps of income or anything like that that's going to hinder you to actually file married filing jointly.
So what about people who's because I know if you don't have a kid, you can take somebody's kid and then file it.
You cannot do that. I don't know.
I heard people do it.
People do it. Does not mean it's legal. If I know who they are.
Okay, so let me know. So can you go deep into that? Because those are the things like we trying to educate our listeners, because people are doing it where they take a kid from like a sibling or I don't know, a cousin, and then they put it on their tax. One thing I heard that wasn't legal, so both party cannot do it at the same time. Like if an uncle doesn't have kids and then he has his sister's kid, he can file.
Right. So there are different again tax codes for each and every single thing that you're doing with taxes. If you're filing for a dependent, that dependent needs to either be under 17 years old and have lived with you for more than half the year. If that is the case, then you can claim that person. But if your niece lives in Florida, you live in Boston, and you are claiming them as your dependent. Really are taking advantage of the law system, and if they find you, you will be heavily and heftily penalized for that. So we have to be ethical and we have to do things by standard.
Can you repeat that again, please?
Sure. So you have to do things based on the IRS tax code. If there are different laws in the tax code that allows you to claim dependents. One being that if someone is under the age of 17 or they are up to 21 and they're in school full time, you can claim them as a dependent. Or if they are biologically or have been adopted, you can definitely claim them. They must have lived with you if they are not fitting into one of those categories for at least over half of the year. If that is not the case, and you are claiming someone who has not lived with you, has no relation to you, or maybe they are your niece, your nephew, your grandmother's daughter, I don't know, something weird, and you're claiming them on your return as a dependent, you will be heavily fined for it if it comes to the knowledge of the IRS. And I will tell you this, just because you do it once or twice or 3 times and the IRS doesn't say anything, it does not mean it's not bringing up a red flag in their system. They will eventually catch up to you and they will find you. And when they find you, you will be heavily fined. I have had to fix several, if not hundreds, and I'm not over exaggerating. Our office has had to fix hundreds of tax returns from fraudulent activities, from tax preparers that claimed they were tax preparers, that had no qualifications filing taxes, that did not even know a deduction from a credit, and they were filing people's taxes wrongly, and people were getting fined for it, and then the IRS catch up to them, and we have to fix it. So make sure you're doing things ethically.
Wow. And I'm glad you bring in those insights, because I know people, and those are questions people talk about, and then things happening in the tax season and will happen as we speak, because people are feeling the taxes.
Right.
So and I think that's probably gonna be the last question, and I think a lot of people, businesses have like the PPE loan. So, and I heard bad stories where people are taking advantage of it.
Oh yeah.
Question. What's your message for them? And the tax, like an accountant, the tax preparer.
Yeah. So as an accountant, I have had to really help a lot of businesses, and it's unfortunate because I know a lot of businesses they've been impacted by COVID, and a lot of them have had no income. So obviously, the CARES Act has allowed for a lot of provision for business owners in that sense. But my answer to all of that is pretty much the same. You have to do things because I feel like a lot of people choose when they're Christian and when they're not. Like, oh, when it comes to me doing church things, I can be a Christian. But when it comes to money and me doing these things, I can kind of wave myself around and kind of, no, you have to be consistent about who you are. Like, and that will show through whether you are working in your taxes or with the PPP loans or whatever else. I actually just dealt with someone just a couple of weeks ago who wanted us to amend a tax return so that that person could get a higher PPP loan. And I knew for sure that that person did not make the amount of money. And so you have, as an accountant, I have to also hold myself accountable. Right.
Business
and
ethics,
both spiritually speaking and credentially speaking, because I could lose my credentials if I am falsely, modifying documents for someone and I am not being honest with the law system. So my advice to any business owner would be to really be honest, because there are people that are really in need of this money. Like, there are restaurants that are closed down. There are, so many businesses that are closed down that are really impacted. So if you are absorbing the funds that could be used to help someone else, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're doing your community a disservice, and you are lying, and it is not ethical and it's not biblical. So we have to also think about it from that angle as well.
Well said, and like I said, I think those are the great question answers. So I know you mentioned you wanted to promote an event coming up.
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely.
Go.
So we are, I have a group on Facebook, if you can find it. It's called Purpose to Profit. It's for Christian female entrepreneurs, or actually female Christian coaches, consultants, and educators that are looking to grow their businesses or start a coaching business. And we have an event happening from March 8th until the 14th. It's a 7-day challenge where I am going to help you earn $5,000 in 7 days. This is only open to female Christian coaches, consultants, and educators, but I welcome you to join. You can join the group if you just type in Facebook Purpose to Profit for Christian female coaches and consultants.
Oh yeah, there will be a link below on the podcast for that too. But last word for you, Rebecca. And like I said, thank you. And I think we had a great opportunity to learn about you, your family, your background, education, and career too.
Yeah, this has been great. It's been an honor to be here with you, Eddy, and thank you so much for having me on. And I enjoy speaking about my experience. If I can help anybody in their journey, I am more than happy to do that.
So when should we expect a second book?
Soon. It's coming out sooner than you think.
Right. So we'll be. Hopefully, you send us a copy.
You will be the first.
Right.
You will be one of the first people to know.
All right, definitely. Thank you. And we're hoping to get you back to talk more about your purpose and your mission, and then businesses too. I think we're gonna have a lot of reaction feedback regarding the hot topics we mentioned today, and people are gonna probably be happy and upset too. We don't know. We'll see.
I just speak truth.
That's right. And thank you. So
thank you.
I think we have a great opportunity. So today with Rebecca, she was our guest, and then we're gonna be posting everything. So call us, reach out to us on Facebook, on YouTube, DPPodcast Live. You can see the podcast. You can go to Podbean for DPPodcast Live. Thank you.